It's like 80 degrees in this room, and I'm wearing a sweater. But that's only because books and sweaters mix really well, so if you ever want to know what my favorite books are, I'm reviewing them while wearing a sweater. Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about a book that is very, very important to me at the moment, and I'm pretty sure that it's always going to be very important to me, and that is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I don't think I've talked about this already, but I have been in the largest reading slump, and I have no idea why. I think it was directly after I read Lady Midnight, which may be the reason. I was enjoying books, but they weren't having the same effects that they used to. You know, like you're reading books and it's like, yeah, it's a good book, but you're not like, spot on, A+ book, I'd read it again, you know? I have just been in a huge reading slump, and it's been really sad because I don't like being in reading slumps. I like enjoying my reading. And this book right here has officially taken me out of my reading slump, and I will be forever grateful. And I feel like a book that takes you out of a reading slump will just forever be one of your all-time top books, you know? So here's the top book. So, due to the fact that I may be biased because it took me out of a reading slump, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to lower it at all. This book is 100% a 5 out of 5 stars for me. So the premise of this book is that the main character, Cinder, is in New Beijing, which is kind of a future time of our world at the moment. There were 5 world wars, I believe, and this is where we're at right now. There is a plague going across her country and the entire world that is just killing hundreds of thousands of people, and no one really knows how to cure it. She is a cyborg, which is seen as a derogatory thing towards everyone. And there is another civilization of people that is on the moon, and they are called Lunars, and their leader is Queen Lavanna, who wants to invade the world and take over, but they have powers to where they can manipulate people. And so this whole story is about how they're trying to save the plague, how Cinder is involved in the whole thing, and how Kai, the prince, also gets wrapped up in the whole situation also. So you can see that there's kind of a political side to the story as well as the fantasy side. I loved the writing style of this book and even the font. Like, I know that's weird, but I really enjoyed the font. It felt like it melched the story very well and the way that it was going. I felt like each character was very fleshed out, and they all had qualities that really kind of wrapped me up in their story, and I cared about what happened to them. So because I cared what happened to them, and a whole lot of things happened to them, I'm going to go on and get into the spoiler section part of this review, so if you have not read the book, please, please, please go read it. I know it's a 4-book series, and the last book's like 800 pages long, and there's bunches of novellas in it, but I promise you it's worth it, so please, please go read this book. It's spoiler time, guys. I'm very, very excited for spoiler time. So we start off with Cinder in her booth as a renowned mechanic, and she is just making money that all goes to her stepmother and stepsisters, which is a pretty awful way to make your money when you just have to give it away to people. And then we're introduced to her as a cyborg because there's these children playing, and then they suddenly run away and one of the mom takes her child away, but being a cyborg is not contagious, as she states, and yet the mom is still like freaking out because she's a cyborg. And oh no, can't let my children touch the cyborg. And then it turns out that that mom gets affected by the plague, and then they go into lockdown, and then she goes home, and then Peony gets infected by the plague, and Peony is like the only nice person in her family, the only person that kind of actually cares about her. Not kind of actually, like completely cares about her. And so they go off into a junkyard, and then Peony gets affected by the plague. Why in the world? Why did Peony need to get affected? Like, honestly, like, the only good person that she had in her life, aside from Eco, who is just an android, not just an android, but, I mean, an android, also gets affected, and I mean, she's already going through so much, and it's only page, like, 50. What the heck? And then she meets Kai, who is the Prince of New Beijing, and he has an android that needs to be fixed, and he's heard of Cinder, and he's all shocked that she's a girl, and I'm like, yeah, girl power. And he needs to have his android fixed, because it's not important, but we all kind of know that it really is, because it's a political system, and everything's important. And then he goes back, and he finds out that his father has the plague, and I'm pretty sure he already knew he had the plague, and his mom's already gone, and so if his dad dies, then he becomes the emperor, and he's just so young, he's only 19. He doesn't need to become the emperor. This poor kid. Spoiler alert, in this spoiler, his dad dies and he becomes the emperor. So he becomes the emperor, and then he just has all of this to worry about, and Queen Lavanna finds out that he's the emperor, and this, like, strikes down even though his dad just died, and she's like, hey, I'm on my way to Earth, and they're all like, what the heck? You never come to Earth. And she's like, well, I'm on my way, kiddos, you get ready. And so she comes to Earth, and then there's, like, a big riot outside of the castle, and she just manipulates them all into thinking that it's okay that she's there, and they're all like, oh, yeah, Queen Lavanna, gotta love her. Oh, I forgot such an important part. Okay, so she gets to her house, and then her stepmom finds out that Peony has the plague, and she's like, well, I mean, if Peony has the plague, then there's really no use for you anymore. And so she sends Cinder off to go to the doctor who is trying to find out why people have the plague, and he's only asking for cyborgs because they're important for some reason. And then she's like, there's something wrong with her, and she's like, not getting infected by the plague. What? Why? And so that leads off into another storyline that I'll get into later. And so then she just gets sent back, and the stepmom is like, what you doing here? And she's like, oh, you know, they didn't need me, so I'm back. Joke's on you. I know that the stepmother has a name, I just feel like she doesn't deserve it. I'm gonna start using it from this point out just for like a little bit of respect. Even though she doesn't deserve any respect. I don't like her. I really, really don't like her. I almost don't like her more than I don't like Queen Levana. And Queen Levana is the main villain of this entire storyline. And then she finds out that Cinder has been going back to medical facility, and she just sends her back even though Cinder was going to check on Peony, and she took her ID chip because all of the little med droids are like taking all the dead people's ID chips, and we're not even really explained in this book why they're taking the ID chips. Like, I read every page, I read every single word, it's never explained. Why are they taking the ID chips? Anyways, I feel like this is getting kind of long, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the end. And so this girl comes on the comm, just like this blonde, flippy, lots of blonde hair girl, and she's like, hey, I kind of screwed up and Queen Levana wants to kill your emperor. Oops! Except she feels really bad about it. Like, it's not how I just portrayed it. She feels really, really bad about it, and she's trying to fix her screw up. And so even though Cinder has been told that she's not supposed to go see Queen Levana because Queen Levana, like, noticed that she was a shell or something, and a shell is a person that is not... And so even though Cinder knows that she's not supposed to go see the Queen because the Queen found out that she is a shell, and a shell is a person that is not affected by the Queen's ability to manipulate people, and the Queen, like, really does not like that. Like, those people get killed because the Queen can't manipulate you into thinking that she's beautiful and perfect and wanting to serve her for all eternity. And so the Queen finds out that Cinder is a shell, and that's just not good. And so she runs to the ball to let Kai know that she is going to kill him. And then the other stepsister, and I forgot her name, but she is going to tell Kai at the ball that Cinder is a cyborg. And that's just so bad. And I really, really didn't want Kai to be affected by the fact that she was a cyborg, because I really like Kai. And I really like Kai and her together. But he doesn't find out at that point, so it's okay. And so she's just, like, dancing around with Kai, and Kai's all mad because Audrey almost slapped Cinder, and, I mean, he, like, grabbed her hand and was like, excuse you, and he was all, like, emperor-like, even though she was literally about to slap Cinder in the face. Shout out to Kai for being a respectful gentleman. And so they're all dancing around, and she thought he already knew that she was a cyborg, but he didn't, and then she almost spilled it, but she didn't. And then the Queen comes, and then the Queen almost has her shoot herself, and Kai's like, please, no, don't hurt her, because, you know, Kai. And Cinder had Cinder straight up kissed him earlier, and was like, what if she thought that we loved each other? And then the Queen struts in and was like, I don't care if you love each other. And so then they're getting married now. Kai has agreed to get married to the Queen, and so the Queen wants to become the Empress so she can just, like, rule New Beijing and then kill Kai and then rule the Earth, because that's how it works, right? But she also has, like, these soldier people, and I mean, what can you not win with soldier people on the moon, right? So Queen Levana has a really good plan, is basically what I'm getting at here. So Cinder then runs away because she almost shot herself and other people, and then she tried to shoot the Queen, and then one of the Queen's guards jumped in front and protected her. And so Cinder's like, well, crap, there goes my plan. And so she just sprints away on her, like, too small foot, because Audrey took her foot and also destroyed Eco, which was honestly one of the saddest scenes in this whole thing. No, probably the saddest scene was when Peony died. Why did Peony have to die? Like, I know she had the plague, but why did she have to die? Because she was, like, right there, and she had the medicine, and none of my thoughts are forming correctly in this review, but if you've read the book, you understand, and I hope you don't judge me for it. So she runs off, and then she, like, trips on the stairs, which is, I guess, the, like, Cinderella fall down the stairs, like, classic thing, and then her foot falls off, and then Kai picks up her foot, and I'm like, no, this is not the same thing as picking up her shoe. Like, that's her foot. And now she's, like, one-legged, and, like, the wires are sticking out, and Kai's all, like, repulsed and whatnot. And then we find out that she's not a shell. and she gets sent to prison, and the queen wants her killed, and then she's the princess. She is the princess that the queen killed when she was 3 years old because she knew that the princess had priority to the crown over her. Did that make sense? So, I mean, Cinder's Princess Celine, like, no biggie, whatever. The doctor comes in and tells her and then is like, find me in Africa, peace out. This book, guys. So the book literally ends, and it's like, you're Princess Celine, and she's like, what the heck, no I'm not. And he's like, yes you are, meet me in Africa, and then leaves, and she's like, well crap, guess I gotta meet him in Africa. And that's the end of the book. So overall, if you can't tell after watching my horribly rushed summary of this entire book and my thoughts and opinions on it, and not nearly all of my thoughts and opinions, if you haven't read the book yet and you just watched that whole thing, I'm really sorry. If you have read the book, please talk to me about it. Add me on Goodreads, because I'm a complete nerd. And I really want to talk to all of you on Goodreads about books. Hope you all enjoyed this review. I know it was really, really rushed, and it's just because when I talk really fast, it means that I really like something and I don't know how to slow down my words. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.